Warning, the following presentation contains cold, hard truths that might change the way you think. Viewer discretion won't do you any good now. 23 years ago, the life-destroying masterpiece Final Fantasy VII was released. And ever since then, people have wanted a remake of it. But the original still holds up to this day. A classic JRPG with a straightforward battle system and an unbelievably epic storyline that contains absolutely everything. Action, comedy, romance, conspiracies, aliens, false flags, new age philosophy, psychological horror, snowboarding, cross-dressing, talking robot cats, talking actual cats, ninja thieves, leaping dolphins, and you fucking name it. I mean, seriously. Throughout my life, I have purchased Final Fantasy VII on the PS1, PC, PS4, and the Switch. Which means I've renewed this game more times than I've renewed my license. And here's the craziest part. It's not even in my top 3 favorite Final Fantasy games. Ugh, I think I just triggered myself. Now, although Square has attempted to milk the Final Fantasy VII universe in countless ways, from spin-off games to multiple films to actual milk chocolate candy bars, it's pretty clear that they've wanted to remake the game for a long time. They first announced remakes of Final Fantasy VII, VIII, and IX in the early 2000s, and then quietly abandoned the project. Then in 2005, Square released this PlayStation 3 tech demo depicting what a remake of Final Fantasy VII would look like, but also admitting that one was not actually in development. We did not lose hope, because a decade later, in 2015, Square dropped this little nugget, and we realized, yes, it was finally happening. The remake is real. And another 5 years later, we finally got to play it. Now, I know that there are squillions of reviews already out there for Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I just had to make one. I mean, it's the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And whether you like it or not, just like you, I have also been waiting a massive chunk of my life to play this game. There's just so much to say about this remake. The voice acting, excellent. The scenery, nailed it. The combat, oh yeah. The materia, shit yeah. The weapon ability crystal thing? Sure, why not? The addition of the ghosts that look like penises mixed with vaginas? Psh, I love these scrotal motherfuckers. Alright, I wouldn't go as far as saying I love them, but I accept them for who they are. But here's the cold hard truth. This review is going to be laden with spoilers. And I mean like starting now. And if you're wondering why I would make a review of a game and fill the entire thing with spoilers, it's because it really doesn't matter. You know you've already played this game. It's the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And if you're wondering what the purpose was of giving an entire history lesson on what Final Fantasy VII is to begin with, if I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil the remake, well, that's just how wide of a spectrum my videos tend to stretch over. Now, we all knew this game was only gonna be the first chapter in a series of installments that will, as a whole, fill out the original storyline of Final Fantasy VII. And we were all not thrilled about it. On one hand, certain moments in this game definitely feel like they're being padded out. For example, you spend a lot of time in this sewer. I mean, you run through this place like 3 separate times. But on the other hand, having things sort of dragged out makes the game a lot more memorable. And on the other hand, it's hard to say how much padding we'll see in the following installments of this game. Because by the time you finish this one, you will have learned the big twist that from here on out, this will actually be a different timeline than the original Final Fantasy VII. Now, without question, the biggest change in this remake is the addition of the Whispers, the penis-vagina ghosts that represent the physical manifestation of destiny. They appear every time something is about to occur that differs from the events of the original game, leading them to fly around and manipulate things until everything returns to the way we remember it playing out. Almost acting as a metaphor for the die-hard fan base not wanting to change the storyline. And yes, it's a lot like the movie Final Destination, which was tight as shit. But by the end of the game, the Whispers are defeated, meaning that the characters do not have to stick to the events of the original game, and they leave Midgar with the promise of an unknown journey ahead of them. And this is when we realize it's not the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's Final Fantasy VII Remake. The characters are actually remaking the story within the game. And some people were very turned off by this. I mean, I get why. You guys had one opportunity to remake this game. You fuck us over by spreading it out into multiple chapters. You pad the hell out of the first chapter, and then you go ahead and do something like this.
And totally redeem yourself!
Yes, the addition of the Whispers and changing the course of Destiny is a genius move that just had to happen. Experiencing the exact same events we've already seen isn't as fun as you'd think. Now we have the chance to actually be surprised and see these characters go through something unpredictable. And since this is Final Fantasy, you can use weird interdimensional ghost creatures that control stuff, and you can explain alternate realities like it's completely normal and acceptable. I mean, don't get me wrong. Final Fantasy VII is one of the greatest storylines in anything ever. And I also hope that they don't change the core plot too much, but changing it a little could very well just make it even better. And now that we've spoiled the whole storyline, let's finally talk about the game. Overall, this is Final Fantasy VII. It's pretty, it's ugly, it's wacky, and it is gnarly. Compared to the original, the remake is a lot more linear, but at the same time, way more fleshed out. The combat is really something to behold. There are several ways to go about executing commands in battle. You can control any character in real time, you can give commands to the other characters in real time, or you can stop time and give commands. The fact that you're always able to slow down time and do some Matrix Wachowski camera work while you're planning your next attack, I think this is why I sucked so much on my first playthrough. I was constantly distracted by this. But the speed at which commands take place and abilities just pile onto each other is really fast-paced. Just look at the amount of sparks on the screen right now. I think I know why Barrett wears sunglasses. This shit would be absolutely blinding. Now, not only do we have the classic materia system, but entirely separate from that are the weapon-based abilities that you learn from the various weapons you acquire. And separate from that are actual individual skill trees for each weapon that offer unlockable stat upgrades. And all your character's weapons will earn these points whether you're using them in battle or not. And boy, do I love that. But the loop of fighting and maxing out weapon abilities is extremely fun to do. Probably because every weapon ability is so damn cool to look at. Just look at Tifa's Star Shower, or Cloud's Blade Burst, or Aerith's Ray of Judgment. I cannot describe how good it feels to nail Barrett's Smackdown. Oh yeah. Yeah, I heard somebody over here wants to get boofed. Yo, I heard one of you guys is signing up to get boofed. Here we go. And Brett Kavanaugh. Now, the most annoying enemy in the game might be these helitroopers, but just listen to the blood-curdling scream they let out when you kill them. Wow. I almost feel bad about killing them. No, I don't. Fuck those guys. Some of my favorite enemies to battle include the Behemoth, because it's just plain fun. This thing will really keep you on your toes. And the Tonberry, because nothing feels better than kicking the shit out of this little demon. I hate you, and I love to hate you. And I never get tired of fighting Abzu. Just roast his horns and watch him go insane. In fact, I'm really just roasting everybody. Roast, roast, roast. The summoning system in this game is sort of similar to Final Fantasy XV in that they sort of happen randomly. Here the summons range from a cute little puppy to a big fucking dragon. But what's extremely helpful is that you can issue commands to the summon from any character, not just the one who summoned them. It's a really good thing they allowed for this, because otherwise you'd never be able to get a command out to your summon. You'd probably waste them almost every time. Come to think of it, this game pulls a lot from other Final Fantasy games, and in a good way. The weapon ability system is kind of similar to how you gain abilities in Final Fantasy IX. The skill tree just looks similar to the one in 13. The combat feels like a mixture of 12 and 15, and it doesn't pull any bad elements from those games either, which I am very thankful for. Look, I'm not saying this is the best Final Fantasy game, but it's definitely the least shitty. They've learned from several mistakes. Way more coherent story, no horribly obnoxious dungeons, although one thing I personally don't like about the exploration factor in this game is that it really does not let you veer off track during missions.
Not that way. Down the ladder, dummy.
Hey, don't insult me. I will fuck you up. But one thing I really did like about exploring these dungeons is that time I was about to reach the end, and then Barrett reminded me of an item I left behind. I can't really think of any other game that does this. I'm also not sure how often this happens in the game. In fact, I think it only happens one time. But I really appreciated it. I totally didn't go back and get the item, but it was nice having the reminder. Now, Final Fantasy VII has always been a very garbage-filled game. I mean literal garbage, like trash and waste. And the remake stays very true to that. You're kicking around garbage, climbing garbage, sliding through garbage. Whoa, that is like a skyscraper of garbage. And the fact that most of these backgrounds are actually static images, in a way feels very true to the original game. I feel like I'm watching a movie that's using practical effects instead of CGI. I'm not even kidding, I really like it for some reason. But I will admit, this game can also really fall short in the department of graphical consistency. Lots of times textures will just not load properly, resulting in what I call the PS2 look. This tends to happen a lot with doors, signs, and wood. Look how terrible this wood looks. Man, I have one question for the developers here. Square Enix,
do you respect wood?
But it's not just the textures. Sometimes objects just plain look like shit. Just look at the stark difference between the detail of Cloud and this pipe that he's standing in. What is with this pipe? This thing looks like it came out of Banjo-Kazooie. And I can't believe I'm using that game to diss something. That's really not good. It's not like I'm sitting here with a magnifying glass trying to find this stuff either. It's kind of hard not to notice it. But aside from that, the game still manages to be mesmerizing to look at, most of the time. All the parts of Midgar that contain civilization are pretty immersive, especially Wall Market. And the Shinra building is just magnificent. Now, this is clearly where all the budget went. You know, I wish I could play the game like this. Just looking at myself. Wait, let's see if I can catch the ladder. Oh, I did it! Imagine an entire playthrough just looking at yourself. It would be like the selfie speed run. This game is the equivalent of seeing a new Marvel movie in theaters, because it's like watching your favorite cartoon or comic book come to life. Not only in terms of the visuals, but just in the personality of the characters. I mean, Barrett is phenomenal.
You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
And Aerith is just extremely likable. She hands out flowers, she saves children, she wears dresses.
She makes chicken salad, she wears brassiere, she does it all.
And we even get to fill in the story gap of seeing her save Marlene. And that moment made me cry like a bitch. But it's no secret that the real standout here is Jessie. I know I'm not alone in saying this, but Cloud should have really gotten with Jessie. She lives in a very nice neighborhood, and that's the only reason. I'm kidding, she's an incredible person. But what I really appreciate is the fact that the story in this game is way more coherent and better told than the past several Square Enix RPGs. Especially the last Final Fantasy game. You actually get what's going on, and we get a lot of time to grow to like all of the characters. And while the game contains a handful of very emotional moments, the comedy is also great.
Cloud? Is that you? Oh my god, that makeup! And that dress!
Nailed it, I know, thank you. Moving on.
Also, now that the censors have been removed, we can finally know what the characters are saying when they swear.
Stubborn little shitbirds, ain't ya?
What was this, written by Stifler? Is that reference outdated? But the game is also not without its awkward anime moments. That might just be the result of poor translating. I can't even tell, to be honest.
Are your parents still around?
No.
Mm-hmm. You know, Chocobo Sam really sounds a lot like Sam Elliott.
A chocobo was spotted near the old church.
Who does the voice of this character? Larry Davis? Not Larry David, Larry Davis. Well, this is obviously a reference to Sam Elliott, and it's pretty hilarious.
And now I'm gonna sue Square Enix for stealing my likeness without my permission. Goddamn Japanese identity thieves. How dare you? Tune in to new episodes of The Ranch on Netflix. We kicked off that rapey guy, and replaced him with 2 chocobos, calling the show Chocobo Ranch. Yeah. Nah.
Now, Final Fantasy VII is known for 2 things: wearing a dress and playing minigames. And the minigames here range from absolute dog shit horrible to very fun.
Not bad at all.
You got this, come on.
Oh my god.
I knew you could do it. That's how it's done.
Shut up! My god, I'm trying to work out over here. As for the part where Cloud wears a dress, not only is it in the game, but they even expanded it to include what might be the best minigame of all, the dance-off between Cloud and Andrea Rodea. I think this should have went full DDR. That would have been fucking sick. Alright, here she comes. Look at how he's walking. I mean, he is really pulling that off. I just need a moment alone to think about some things. I need to re-examine myself after that. Speaking of examining their life, who felt the need to add this character? At first you think Roche might be a new villain, but by the end of his appearance in the game, you get the vibe that he could be a new playable character at some point. One thing's for sure, he's ridiculous as shit. Yeah, I'll be honest, I wouldn't be upset if this guy gets crushed by a pile of rubble at some point. Now, let's get serious for a moment. The last hour of this game is one of the most epic and brilliant things I have ever experienced in a video game. After learning that the Whispers are controlling the character's destinies, you go through a portal into an alternate dimension where you fight the Whisper Harbinger and Sephiroth. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh fucking yeah. After the Whispers disappear from Midgar, the characters are now able to change their destiny and proceed into a different future than the one from the original game. And since the Whispers are time travelers, this act also destroys the Whispers from the past that were preventing Zack from winning the battle with the Shinra soldiers that killed him, a pivotal event that traumatized Cloud and led to his identity crisis of adopting Zack's persona. So now we're left to wonder what this means for our Cloud. You might interpret this as Cloud having to change his past in order to change his future, but they make it pretty clear that the characters have moved into an alternate reality. So will this lead to some opposite timeline where Cloud doesn't become as fucked up and maybe just lives a normal life? Will this alternate reality appear to him in flashes? Is Cloud going to have a different memory of his past now? Some diehard fans have expressed worry that this might lead to a massive amount of differences in the remake storyline, such as Cloud becoming a kindergarten teacher or a professional dancer. But as far as we know, Cloud is still Cloud. The other questions are that of whether or not Aerith is Aerith and Sephiroth is Sephiroth. And this is where things get really mind-bending. There is evidence to suggest that this Aerith is the original Aerith reborn into this timeline, or that she is communicating with her alt-reality self that is now a part of the livestream, which is what caused the Whispers to appear. There's also evidence to suggest that the same could be said about Sephiroth. Is this Sephiroth also aware of the other timeline where he has already failed? Maybe that's why he changes his strategy this time around, appearing in front of Cloud much earlier on, and even trying to get Cloud to join him towards the end. Either way, it was by the end that I realized I am actually glad that they split this remake into separate chapters, and having time to debate these mysteries in the story is just like watching a great TV show and having to wait until the next season to have your questions answered. The main reason why we were afraid of this remake is because we didn't want them to screw up the story that we love. And while some might view what they did as screwing it up, to me it's the complete opposite. Final Fantasy VII, of all things, deserves something as ballsy as what they did at the end here. And I think the developers have shown that they possess an extremely large testicular mass. Not only did they take the risk of remaking a beloved classic game, but they took an even bigger risk by attempting to build on the original story in a really unique way. Cloud's backstory has been told so many times, the only thing left to do with it was to change it. And how could you not get emotional seeing Zack rise up alive and well? It's an amazing moment, and by now he deserves it. It is unfortunate that we'll have to wait a while to see what are arguably the best parts of this game's storyline, but I loved my time running around Midgar so much. I'm glad there was an entire game of just that. Right now, we know absolutely nothing about when Part 2 will be released, or how many parts there will even be for that matter. I hope that by the time you watch this video, that statement has already aged poorly, and some kind of announcement has been made. But until then, Square Enix, you can go fuck yourself. Please don't abandon this game.